London is well rehearsed and ready to give the Queen the send-off she deserves as one of the most beloved figures in modern history.
Tauranga MP Sam Uffindale's cleared of wrongdoing, but Nationals slammed for the timing of their announcement.
And All Whites captain Winston Reid will play his last international at Eden Park this Sunday against old foes Australia.
Tēnā tātou katoa and good evening from Westminster Abbey. 9-year-old Prince George and his sister, 7-year-old Princess Charlotte, have been brought in to walk behind their great-grandmother's coffin before the Queen's state funeral here tonight. The move is seen as the royal family sending a powerful signal about its future continuity. At 9:44 tonight, New Zealand time, the coffin will move from its lying in state at Westminster Hall to Westminster Abbey for the funeral service. George and Charlotte will walk behind their parents, William and Kate, and in front of Harry and Meghan. They'll also go to Windsor Castle for the private service, but 4-year-old Prince Louis is considered too young to take part. It is 11 days since the Queen died, and you can feel the atmosphere changing here on a cold and cloudy autumn morning in London. Cheers for the King and tears for the Queen. Everyone knew the queue to see her lying in state would have to end on the final day of public mourning, but that didn't soften the blow.
So, you are the last
Disappointment inescapable for those who had left their run to the last minute, denied the chance to say goodbye in person.
So, yeah, absolutely gutted. We went across the bridge rather than straight over.
Hundreds of thousands of people did make it to Westminster Hall, determined to stand before their Queen, to bow or nod or blow a kiss.
Personally as well, I think to pay our respects, it's something that we just felt we had to do. It wouldn't be right not to be here.
I met a lot of people on the queue, so it's a wonderful experience so far.
US President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill were among them, joined by Jane Hartley, America's ambassador to the UK.
She was the same in person as her image, decent, honourable, and all about service. To all the people of England, all the people of the United Kingdom, our hearts go out to you, and you were fortunate to have had her for 70 years. We all were. The world's better for her.
For the first time since the Queen's death, the Queen Consort spoke.
She's got those wonderful blue eyes that when she smiles, you know, they light up her whole face. I'll always remember that smile. You know, that smile is unforgettable.
Full of love and respect for her mother-in-law.
It must have been so difficult for her being a solitary woman. There weren't women prime ministers or women presidents. She was the only one, so I think she carved her own role.
The Queen's second eldest son, Prince Andrew, also paid tribute, saying, "Mummy, your love for a son, your compassion, your care, your confidence, I will treasure forever. I have found your knowledge and wisdom infinite, with no boundary or containment. I will miss your insights, advice and humour." Prince Andrew has played a significant role in official ceremonies since the Queen's death, despite being stripped of royal duties and titles because of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Tomorrow he'll again form part of the procession with the King, Princess Anne and Prince Edward, William and Harry too. All eyes on the royal family, the stage now set for the send-off of a century.
Growing up in New Zealand, we used to go to Government House every time there was a royal and we would wave. And I was here for Charles and Diana's wedding and for Diana's funeral, and I always said I would come for the Queen.
All the plans rehearsed and perfected are now falling into place. King Charles and the royal family have had their final briefing, and the world's most powerful people have arrived. What is expected to be the most watched event on the planet ever is about to begin. And as the piles of flowers continue to grow, London filled up and shut down. 1 million extra people on the streets, and in the biggest security operation London's ever seen, 10,000 police officers out in force too. Alice Wilkins is at Buckingham Palace, which is on the route that the coffin will take tonight. Alice, there's never been a funeral like it in our lifetime, has there?
No, Samantha, and there might never be again. And that's why thousands of people are already here outside Buckingham Palace. Many have arrived early in the morning. Some have been here for 5 nights or more. But if you're watching from at home tonight, around 11:15 New Zealand time, the coffin will be placed on the gun carriage and the cortege will leave the Abbey on foot. Big Ben will toll every minute as the procession, including King Charles and members of the New Zealand Defence Force, makes its way down the Mall and then past where I am at Buckingham Palace and along Constitution Hill to Wellington Arch. There the Queen will be transferred to the royal hearse. She'll then be driven out to Windsor, where the hearse will join a walking procession through the town and up the long walk to the castle. Members of the royal family will again join the procession for its final leg to St George's Chapel.
It's going to be an incredible sight to behold. Ngā mihi, Alice, thanks so much. Well, it has been a long and freezing wait for the mourners who have been camped out at Windsor Castle to grab the best spot to watch from. Europe correspondent Lisette Raymer is there with them.
Windsor has been a maze of mourners for 10 days, but today the crowd was different, weighed down not just by grief, but by cheers and blankets and brave plans for the evening ahead.
We're hoping to camp out tonight so that we get to see the Queen return home tomorrow.
Through strict security, they trudged to find their place with a view.
What's for dinner? Marmalade sandwiches, I think.
Teresa and Joan were the first to arrive, but they were far from the last. The long walk soon transformed into the longest campground.
Staying the night, braving it in the cold. We've got some extra large socks for when the lights go down.
Happy campers with heavy hearts.
I want to last say goodbye to her, yeah.
From the spontaneous.
We were sat eating our cheese sandwiches and thought, should we stay?
To those who booked the trip the minute they read the news and are very, very well prepared.
I have a waterproof poncho, I have waterproof trousers. I have enough food to feed the army.
Which is lucky because the army is coming.
This is going to be a huge event for the town, arguably the largest event in living memory in Windsor, and we are truly honoured and humbled that the Queen's final journey will be through the town where she's laid to rest.
The clue is in her name, Elizabeth Windsor. This town really is the Queen's home.
She'll be at peace here, I think.
Reunited with her strength and stay.
When Prince Philip died last year, his coffin was placed in the royal vault, waiting to be moved to the memorial chapel with the Queen when she died.
That's when the cameras will stop rolling. A private ceremony will be held as they open the family tomb where her parents and sister are for the first time in 20 years. The wider chapel houses 45 royals.
Her mother and father and grandparents and great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents, they're here, it's the right place for her.
It's a monumental, emotional and logistical undertaking, carefully guided by town ambassadors who have been planning for this day since they were first recruited a decade ago.
I really don't know how I'll feel. I keep choking up.
The time
3, 2, 1
has finally come.
Everyone expected the Queen to live on forever and forever.
A kingdom ready to farewell its Queen, or at least as ready as it will ever be.
Well, Lisette Raymer joins us now live from Windsor. Kia ora, Lisette. And are the crowds already building there?
Yes, Sam, people have come from all over the United Kingdom, all over the world to be here in Windsor. I think a lot of people expected it to be the less crowded alternative to Buckingham Palace, but it is already obvious that this town is going to be completely overwhelmed today. It has been busy all week. There has been a real sense of sadness, at times even a sense of celebration of a life well lived. But this morning, the feeling is different. There is a growing sense of nervousness, really. People here have have been preparing for this day for decades. People here feel so incredibly close to the Queen. She was their neighbour. For many, she felt like family, and everybody here is so desperate for today to go perfectly for her. They want to give her the homecoming and the send-off that she deserves, and tens of thousands of people are already turning up to ensure that she is.
Lisette Raymer there live from Windsor. Thanks so much. And you can join us on 3 for full coverage of the Queen's funeral. We will be live from London from 7:30 tonight. Well, the last of the world leaders to attend the state funeral are finally arriving. But while the who's who of world politics is here in London, so too is the Kiwi contingent, made up of New Zealanders from all walks of life. Newshub correspondent Mitch McCann spoke with some of them.
They arrived in sadness, but also in song at New Zealand's High Commission. Kiwis from all walks of life coming together to farewell the Queen. This was the delegation's official welcome in London ahead of the Queen's service. Among the well-known faces, the Māori King Tuheitia and Dame Kirite Kanoa. Former Governor-General Dame Sylvia Cartwright is here too, and elated to be invited.
We look back in history and we hear about gatherings for kings and queens and other notables, and they're just part of our history, but I'm now part of this.
Part of it too are everyday New Zealanders, not just heads of state and politicians.
The New Zealand delegation here in London for the Queen's state funeral comes from all walks of life, from Māoridom to the military, as well as arts and culture.
Opera singer Aivale Cole had no idea she would be invited and couldn't believe it when she was.
I was really shocked. I sort of couldn't believe it, but really honoured, really humbled, and really proud to represent New Zealand.
Elsewhere, world leaders are touching down in London every few minutes. Japan's emperor is now here, as are the leaders of South Africa and Brazil. Samoa's head of state too was seen paying his respects at the Palace of Westminster. Overnight, King Charles hosted a reception for these world leaders. Jacinda Ardern unfazed by sharing canapes with the world's most powerful people.
At the end of the day, a group of humans who haven't at this point in time have a particular responsibility. That means that they're in the room. But it is much as you would expect any reception, just people talking to one another.
Talking that paused with a minute's silence across the UK last night on the eve of the Queen's final goodbye.
Mitch McCann joins us now live from Westminster Bridge. Mitch, when do the world leaders arrive here at the Abbey and how will they get there?
Yes, hi Sam. Well, Westminster Abbey will open around 7 o'clock New Zealand time, so around 45 minutes from now, 3 hours before that funeral service starts, and world leaders will begin to arrive between 8:30 and 9 o'clock New Zealand time in the next few hours. As for how these world leaders are actually getting here, Sam, it has raised a couple of eyebrows this week, or it has raised a few eyebrows. They're actually going to be bussed in. They're taking buses from a secret location in West London to Westminster Abbey. Well, then they'll file into their allocated seats. So Jacinda Ardern will be on a bus to Westminster Abbey, although she says she wasn't at all phased about that. But you might be thinking it would be strange to see people like Joe Biden, Emmanuel Macron, Justin Trudeau all taking a bus to a funeral service. They've actually been given exemptions. G7 countries have been given exemptions, as has the Emperor of Japan, for security reasons, so they'll be able to take their own private vehicles. So Jacinda Ardern will not be sitting on the bus next to Joe Biden for the Queen's funeral service.
Tēnā koe, I ngā kōrero. Thank you for the update, Mitch. Well, Melissa Chan Green is here with me now. Kia ora, Melissa. And just over an hour, we're going to bring you full coverage here on 3 of the Queen's funeral from right here outside Westminster Abbey. But first, Mel, we've heard from King Charles.
Yeah, new words this evening, Sam. This has been sent up from Buckingham Palace, who say the King wanted to express his thanks from people around the world, including New Zealand. The statement reads, "As we all prepare to say our last farewell, I wanted to say thank you to the countless people who have been such a support and comfort to my family and myself in this time of grief." And we know that he is going to lead his family into Westminster Abbey when the Queen's coffin arrives here. He'll be followed by his children and, remarkably, as we now know, Prince George and Princess Charlotte, his grandchildren too.
It will be incredible to see the grandchildren part of that procession. Melissa, thank you so much. And the doors to the Abbey will open in just over half an hour. We'll see you back here after the project. contact for our live coverage then.
Tanakwe Sam leading our other news tonight.